Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Heidi Daniel, President and CEO of the Enoch Pratt Free Library, and I am so excited to welcome you this evening for the first time in 2 years back to our Central Library. This is one of our first events that we've been able to hold in person in the last 2 years, and we're just very happy that we are here this evening. We're also happy that there are still people joining us virtually as well, and that they will be celebrating with us this evening, although not in person. The Pratt Library has a lot of exciting events on tap here in Baltimore. Right now, we are just getting started with our Imagination Celebration. It's a month of magical events at all of our Pratt's 22 locations. It's geared towards preschoolers, but it's a lot of fun. Pick up the compass and check it out. You can stop by any library and pick up your free imagination kit for your child while supplies last. Later this month, on April 26th, we'll welcome culinary historian and food writer Michael Twitty into the Pratt Test Kitchen. So again, that will be here in person at the Central Library, and you can register for that now on prattlibrary.org. We're also excited to be partnering with the Rita Church Community Center through Parks and Rec for a Pratt pop-up. You can head over to that community center in Clifton, check out books, and visit our staff there. For more details, check out our website, or again, you can pick up a copy of The Compass, which also has all of our other exciting events. Now, for tonight's big event. Tunde Oyeneyin is an elite Peloton spin and bike boot camp instructor. She's known for her powerful and motivational and really challenging rides that might make you sweat a little. Just saying. This spring, she is releasing her new memoir, Speak, how to find your voice, trust your gut, and get from where you are to where you want to be. Tonight, she is in conversation with another fitness legend, Ernestine Shepherd. Shepherd, yes. Shepherd became a bodybuilder at the age of 71. So if that doesn't inspire you to get moving, I don't know what will. It's my pleasure to welcome to the Pratt stage Ernestine Shepherd and Tunde Oyeneyin. I've been saying it all day, and I just knew I would freeze up last month. Thank you so much. I'm not Mike. So Ernestine had to step away. So I'm going to ask you questions.
My pleasure. I'm very excited now.
I am too. So we decided I wouldn't do this in case I fangirl and cry, but I'm not going to. So I will. My husband said, "Are you going to faint like a little kid?" And I said, "Maybe." So
well, I know CPR, so it'll work.
Good, perfect.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for being here.
Okay, so I'm also going to be wearing my readers so that I can see the fine print this evening. So welcome to Baltimore today. Have you been here before?
Okay, so I was just saying that I was telling somebody on the way here that I most definitely had passed through Baltimore before because I thought that I passed through Baltimore on my way to Rhode Island where my cousins live. And then somebody told me that would not have happened. So I lied, and I've never been here before. It's my first time. But I was saying that people in Baltimore show up on time.
Yeah.
Because in New York, people would have arrived around 8:15. So this is fantastic.
Well, I think people in Baltimore in general just show up. So we're here, we're out there, we come in, so. I'm really excited to start by asking you some questions about your book. So first, the title SPEAK is actually an acronym. So tell me what SPEAK stands for.
I wish I wish my torso was longer so I could see everybody in the back. Hi, everybody in the back. Hey, friends. Oh, hey. It's so incredible how energy can just shoot over everything. I can feel you in the back. I can feel you. So the book is called SPEAK. SPEAK is an acronym. SPEAK stands for Surrender, Power, Empathy, Authenticity, and Knowledge. When I'd said, I think in the 3rd grade, that I wanted to write a book. And when I sat and thought about what I wanted the book to be about, my first thought was, okay, I'll do something like a coffee table book, like something with pretty pictures, something that you'd give somebody and it'd sit on a table. And I think that was fear setting in, giving me, I don't want to call anything about a book writing process easy, but giving me the alternate route out because I didn't know that I was ready to share my story. And I let maybe a year pass, and then my manager put the idea in front of me again, and I said, okay, it's time. And so when I was thinking about what I wanted to title the book, I thought about those words, surrender, power, empathy, authenticity, and knowledge, and how those words had shown up as pivotal moments that moved me into purpose. And so I knew that the title of the book had to be SPEAK, S-P-E-A-K, Surrender, Power, Empathy, Authenticity, and Knowledge.
I love it. Why do you think it was important for you to write this book now?
Well, I mean, I think the age-old saying, why not now, right? But I remember when I was auditioning for Peloton the 2nd time around, I had sat down, I was sitting this far from Robin Arzon, and I didn't get the job the first time around. 2nd time around, I'm sitting this far from Robin. They had just had me do some workout, and then somebody handed me a water bottle and said, now you're meeting Robin. And I looked over and I was like, can I put my eyebrows on before I meet Robin? And I sit down at a table away from her, and she's wearing a bra that says her name. She has on one of her Robin handkerchiefs. It was green, braids, jewelry inside of her braids, eyebrows, lipsticks, the whole thing. And I remember feeling again that power, that energy from the table across from her, away from her. And I remember thinking, number one, I was so in awe of her, just living her purpose and doing everything all at the same time. And I remember I told her, I said, if I get this job, if you grant me this wish, my mission will be to share with people that if I can do this, if I can make this happen, an overweight, first-generation American girl from Houston, Texas, immigrant parents, if I can make this happen, my life's purpose, my life's mission will be to speak. My life's purpose, my life's mission will be to empower other people to do the thing that they know that they want to do. And so here I am now.
That's incredible. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for continuing to inspire us on the bike and off the bike. Can you share a little bit about your personal journey with fitness? Because one of the things that you've said that has really stayed with me is that, you weren't an athlete, or you didn't view yourself as an athlete. And as someone who has spent a lot of time also being, thinking, oh, I'm not an athlete.
Yeah.
I run, and someone said to me once, you don't look like a runner. And I was like, well, I've got 2 legs. Like what does that look like? So tell me a little bit about your personal journey and how you got here and what's inspired you to inspire everyone else for that purpose.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I started calling myself an athlete until maybe 2 years ago, maybe. And I think, so much of that is just imposter syndrome. You see yourself one way, and when you are so set in seeing yourself that way, when something new, that's you taking a different turn in the road or alternate route, you don't allow yourself to see yourself any way but the original way that you saw yourself. I grew up in Houston, Texas, as I mentioned. I was overweight or heavier. And I remember I was actually supposed to be, and I've shared this story a lot, and it's actually in the book, but I was supposed to be a bridesmaid in my aunt's wedding. And so we go to the store to pick out or to grab the dress. And I remember the store didn't make the dress in my size, or that dressmaker didn't make the dress in my size. And so the dress was hideous, ugly, 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 ugly. And the thing is, my aunt actually has really, really, really good style, and she's not like a hater that would want her bridesmaids to look that. It was just a bad choice. I think maybe she wanted to choose a dress that was affordable for everybody. I don't know what the deal was. And so my aunt says, well, no problem. Like, let's find you another dress. And she picks out another blue dress that is lace and train and absolutely beautiful. And she says, you can wear this dress and I will pay for it. And I said, I don't want to wear that dress. My mom's hitting me. Like, she said she's going to pay for that dress. Take the dress. Take the dress. Yeah. And so I looked at my mom, and we're in the dressing room. And so I grabbed the dress that didn't come in my size. I grabbed the biggest one they had, thinking I would force my way into it. My mother followed behind me in the dressing room with the dress that they did have, the more beautiful dress. And I'm trying to get the dress on. It won't even go over my hips or my waistline. And I start crying. And my mom says, I don't understand why you won't wear this other dress. I said, if I wear this dress, then everybody will know. And she said, know what? I said, they're going to know that I was the big one that couldn't fit in the dress that everybody else could wear. And so, I fall into my mother's lap, and I cry and cry and cry. And in that moment, my mother, and in hindsight, I can't imagine what it felt like for her in that moment, to parent in that moment. And she looked at me and she said, if you want change to happen, then you have to change things up. If you want that change to happen, you have to change things up. And in that moment, she empowered me. And so we left the store that day, and about a week or so passed, and my mom pulls out the hideous blue dress. And I looked at her and I said, oh my gosh, how did you get the dress of my size? She bought 2 of that dress and sewed them together. Wow. And so, I started working out, started eating different, doing all the things. And, at the beginning of the journey, I started because I said I wanted to lose weight. I wanted to lose 70 pounds. And I've shared this in many of my classes. And ultimately, I did do that. But what I gained throughout this process to lose, I set out to lose weight. What I gained was a sense of understanding. I gained a sense of my power. I gained a sense of my strength. I realized that I can commit to something and then follow through with that commitment. So I lost something, yeah, which was great. But what I gained was far more rewarding than what I had lost. And then you go through this thing where I remember there were so many times where I think I was always an outgoing person, but when I was younger, I was very introverted. I was a very extroverted person trapped living this introverted life because I didn't want people to see me. I thought to myself, if I laugh, then people are going to notice I'm there. If they notice I'm there, they're going to see my size. If I dance, you guys know I dance a lot in class. I didn't dance then because if I danced, I felt like people would see me. And if they saw me, they'd see how big I was. And so, you know, I always tell people that are in their journey, their wellness journey, their weight loss journey, if you don't train your mind at the same time that you're training your body, then when that magic number that you're wishing for, when you look down at the scale and that magic number finally arrives, if you didn't train this while you were doing this, this never catches up. So I would say it in class a lot, your mind is your strongest muscle, your mind is your strongest muscle. People can tell you, you hit the target, you hit the target, you hit the target, but if you don't see it, it doesn't matter. It's useless. And so when I say that, you know, it took me so much time to even consider myself an athlete, to finally get it, see it, register it. I had this moment not too long ago. I was looking at a journal that I'd written maybe in, I think, middle school. And I talked about how I was so enamored and inspired by Nike athletes. And I think it was last September when I signed with Nike. I'm the first Nike trainer to be a Nike athlete ever. And my wish with that is that little young Tundes see that and see themselves in me and know that an athlete, to your point, isn't this ideal figure or this ideal shape, but somebody who has the mindset and the determination and the will to keep trying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Shout out to whoever said, yeah. That was good. It was thick. It was you? It was thick. It's good.
So I also love that story about your mom. That's amazing mom power right there, right? To come in and get you that dress in that way. Tell me a little bit about how your Nigerian heritage, your upbringing, your time in Houston. I think Katie, right? I lived in Houston for a number of years, so Katie in Houston.
Were you Teach for America?
No, so long story. I worked in the Houston Public Library system. My husband, both my kids were born there. My husband's from there. But so I know Katie, the area, Houston. So tell me a little bit about your family and your heritage and how that's empowered and inspired you and what you bring from your Nigerian heritage.
Yeah, that's a great question. Right. Thank you. I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood. I mentioned before that I was first generation American, descendant of two Nigerians, Festus and Veronica Oyeneyin. When I was at home, I was Nigerian. I always called it Little Nigeria. That's all I knew. When I went to school, I was the girl that didn't look like everybody. And then as I was growing up, when I went to college, I went to the University of Houston. Lots of Black people at University of Houston. Then I felt like not the Black girl, the African girl. So it was almost like these three worlds that I was living between all the time. When we went to church, when I would go to two churches every Sunday, my best friend, her name was Beth, she was white. And then I went with my family. We went with her to the white church. Then I went with my family to the Nigerian church. At the white church, we said amen. At the Black church, or Nigerian church rather, we said amen. And so it was almost as if I was learning two languages at the exact same time. So I didn't grow up thinking one language was good or one language was bad. It was just two languages. And I think that the way that's informed who I am now is I look at myself as a bridge between people. Growing up, my friends are people that see pictures of me and my friends from growing up. They always say, it looks like the United Nations, like the UN, like everybody looks different. And that's how I grew up, just seeing people seeing our difference and celebrating our differences. Seeing our differences, not assuming that we're the same, knowing that we're different, but neither was better or worse, just different. And so I tried to bring that into what I do on the Peloton platform. One example would be the wide variety of music. One day it's a rock, randomly in a pop ride. One day it's house, the next day it's Afro beats, and then it's hip hop. And so I like to really infuse the many worlds that I've lived.
Yeah, that's great. And you do have an amazing mix of music in your ride. So thank you for that. I think many people appreciate that.
My brother doesn't.
Yeah, oh, really? Tell us more.
What is the song, Tunde?
So how did you start the Speak Up, right? Speak Up rides. How did you start those? What is the genesis of those rides? Can you talk a little bit about what those are like?
Yeah. So the first Speak Up ride, as many of you know, was birthed just after the murder of George Floyd. If you take yourselves back to that moment, I think that when we recall or recount that moment now, we remember, but when you really sit and remember that moment and the space that we were all in, the feeling of restlessness, uncertainty, we were sad, we were angry, we were confused, we were certain, all of the emotions and all of this at the same time. I remember I think that when you're in a public space, you remind yourself that everybody's going to hear your thought on any one thing. People will remember your thought on any one thing, and people expect you to have a thought on any one thing. And I was intentionally listening in the first few days, listening, watching, and forming my own thought and my own opinion, not racing to say something just to say something so that I could say that I had said something, but really sitting with my thoughts. And so one day I woke up and I lived in a studio apartment at the time. I didn't walk or step, rolled out of my bed, just sat there, started crying, and picked up the phone and just started recording. I didn't even know what I was saying. I was just saying, just talking. And I recorded the video, and then I said to myself, I'm going to post this. And so right before I pushed post, I said to myself, everyone will probably stop following me, and I'm okay with that, because I'd had then at that point enough time to sit in my thought, develop my thought, and was certain with my thought. And so if people didn't like me because of that thought, I was okay with that. And so as I posted it, I said to myself, all of these people will stop following me. I think in a matter of 24 or 48 hours, I'd gone from maybe 34,000 followers on Instagram at the time to maybe 75,000 people in a matter of hours. And what I learned in that moment, it's not about the number of people that follow me on Instagram. I did lose followers as well. What I learned in that moment was when you clearly wave a flag that says who you are, the people all the way in the back, they can see you. They can see you. Your people find you. And I had thought about something that Robin had told me, I think when I was still onboarding. She said, if your people are your people, and if they're gonna not like you, then they were never your people anyways. The relationship was going to come to an end anyways. And so for 72 hours, my boss had just called me right after I posted that, not related. And she said, we wanna do something to bring the community together in solidarity. Would you lead a ride? I didn't know what the hell she meant or what that's gonna be. And I said yes. She didn't know. She most certainly didn't know what the hell that was going to be. And so we were going to just do it that night. And our head of customer service said, wait, we need to do this right. We need to alert people so that they know and so that they can join, because the idea is for us to be in solidarity. So we said, okay. And we made it for, I think, 2 or 3 days later. And so it was sometimes when I recall everything that I was feeling in that moment, it's almost like I step out of my body and I watch what happened. Because for 3 days, I didn't sleep and I wasn't sleepy. For 3 days, I didn't eat and I wasn't hungry. I sat there and I thought about what I wanted that moment to be. I started interviewing my colleagues, specifically Black people that worked for the company, because what I wanted people to see is, while the faces of Peloton, the instructors, and I know we've doubled since then, but while the faces of Peloton do show diversity, I wanted people to see what I really wanted was people to see that this piece of hardware that they loved so much, this piece of hardware that was infused into their daily lives, something that made them better, feel better. There were so many Black people behind the screen that brought this product forward. And so I wanted to interview those faces behind the camera so that people could hear, for example, Xavier Green, who is a 29-year-old copyright for Peloton. I wanted people to hear that he feels like when he goes to work, he has to change his voice to be accepted. I wanted people to hear that when he's at a grocery store, he makes sure to remove his hoodie. He makes sure to not have his hands in his pocket so that people can see that he's not a threat. I wanted people to know that. I remember the day of the actual ride, I walked into the studio. This is deep in the heart of the pandemic. This was like one of the first times I'd been in the studio, seeing someone else felt different. And then layer on the trauma that we were all going through at the same exact time. Ironically, there were a lot of Black employees working there that day. When I walked in, the level of support, love, encouragement that I felt, it felt like I was about to lead something. Just people had lined up as I was walking in. And so I go to teach the class. The class happened. I think 22,000 people joined that class live. For context, when J-Lo sells out at the Madison Square Garden, it's 21,000 people there. And so it was a stadium size full of people. Again, it wasn't about the number of people in terms of popularity. It was a feeling of 22,000 people are in unity. 22,000 people are in unity. And so that felt empowering. I remember about halfway through the ride, I looked down and I'm thinking to myself, if there's still 6,000 people here, that's a win, because I was thinking that what I was saying might be too honest and too real. I looked down, every single soul was still on that ride. When I teach a 20-minute pop ride that 2,000 people are on, about half of them leave halfway through. Like, this girl is crazy. This ain't Tabata, this is pop. You said yeah a little too loud. You did. So I was odd that everyone was still there. When I unclipped from the ride, I mean, for weeks and months, I couldn't even turn on my Instagram without just populations of emails and or texts and messages. There was a few people that I saw those messages that really stood out. One man said, Tunde, I didn't take that ride, I watched it. And I watched it not out of my own will, my wife made me. I found the term Black Lives Matter incredibly offensive. And after watching your ride, I get it, I understand, I'm with you, Black Lives Matter. There were people that reached out to me at school saying that they added it to their curriculum. There were women, and I've talked about this before, but there were women, white women specifically, who reached out, DM'd me and said, that they saw me. There were white women who on their page posted saying, I've never taken Tunde's class before because we look different. And because we look different, I thought that we wouldn't have anything in common. And I appreciated what they were saying. And I appreciated that they said it publicly and not a DM. I think it's that type of vulnerability that gets us to the other side of this. What I then asked back to those women, I said, if you're a person that's in power, your job, if you don't take my class because we look different, why would you give somebody an opportunity for a job? You won't invest 20 minutes in me. Why would you invest 2 years or say 20 years in them? And it was that type of thinking that was evoked from the class. I don't take it lightly, my place at Peloton. I don't take it lightly. Being a Black woman in predominantly a white space, being a Black woman that's able to enter people's homes that don't look like me, knowing that I'm the only Black woman that's ever entered their home by virtue of a touchscreen. I don't take it lightly. And with that, I understand the importance of using my voice, as Robin says, even when it shakes. Is this a Robin meeting? Like, I gotta call her after. I talk about her a lot in the book, too. I love her. But yeah, even when my voice, I was so scared to teach that ride. I was so scared to teach that ride. I called John Foley the day before the ride, and I said, I just want your blessing. He said, what do you mean? I said, Colin Kaepernick spoke his mind. I said, I just want your blessing. And he said, Tunde, you are fully, this is what we hired you for, this moment. And so, yeah, how great that I was able to be that lever, that bridge, that connector of people.
Yeah. Well, thank you for using your voice and lifting up all the others. Your authenticity and just your power, your sincerity just comes across so well. And you have obviously been elevated, as you mentioned, in terms of followers. You're now an influencer. How has that transition felt for you? From, you were a makeup artist before, right? And now you're this incredibly well-known, respected, admired fitness instructor with all of these followers. And you've said, you clearly have demonstrated you don't take it lightly. You use your voice and you lift up the voice of others. What has that transition been like?
Wild.
Yeah.
It's so wild. People ask me, what it's like. It baffles me that people. I asked me, I don't know, what lipstick do you wear? What do you like to eat?
Yes, what? The lipstick. We all want to know. Let's just be frank.
It's so wild to me. No, it's so wild. She's like, but really, what lipstick is it?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, you guys. I've told y'all this story. This is before the pandemic. I was doing something in Code. We had the tiniest little dressing room, like 17 people. Now we have this big grand thing, but like 17 people in one little square box. And one day Cody sat there and I was telling this dramatic story. And I'm like, this boy has not reacted or asked me anything. Like, so rude. And I looked at him, I go, oh, what? And he goes, I'm just sitting here wondering how many things you're gonna cram on that lip. Because I put so many colors on to mix together. Anyways, today I'm actually the orange, though it's Revlon color. I don't know the name of it, and it's the gloss lip blush. Shout out to Revlon. Yeah. It's wild. People always ask, how did I fall into fitness? Fitness found me. When I started this journey with wellness, I realized that I think I actually like working out. Like, I started to really enjoy it. And then I said to myself, and at this time, what was I doing? I think I was a makeup artist at that time. I was a makeup artist for 15 years before Peloton. And I think I told myself, working out is fun. Maybe I'll teach a little class at like the YMCA or something when I retire. True story. But again, that was imposter syndrome. It was my way of telling myself I didn't have to face that fear now. So I'll put it off and I'll say it's something I'll do when I retire. It'll be cute. And then I was in New York, and I was in New York for a makeup gig. And at the time, I hated my job. Makeup was my first love. Makeup artistry was my first passion. But I was working for a company, and it was very the corporate route, and it was like the art of it was gone. It was soul sucking. That wasn't supposed to be a joke. That's supposed to be like a moment. Y'all laughed. Soul sucking. Okay, so it was like an empathy laugh. So it was soul sucking. And so I was in New York for a gig, and I was on I'm a fitness person. Like I'm always like healthy, but like I was on like a supreme health kick at that moment. And it was one, when you're like in it and you want to close all your rings. It was one of those. And I was like, no, I'm closing this ring. So I go down to it was a big time difference, but I was still going to get my workout in. So I go down to the hotel gym. There's nothing down there but a hula hoop and a broken treadmill. Oh. That's the worst.
Yes.
So usually I would just said, well, I tried it, and going back upstairs. But again, I had to close the ring. So I had been hearing about cycling, indoor cycling. Kelly Ripa was talking about it a lot. And so I was like, let me just go. I'm in New York. They have one of those here. Let me just go try it out. So I'm in line. It was one of those things where I couldn't turn around because everyone would judge me. But I'm in line, and homegirl told me it was $40 because I needed the shoe, the water bottle, the towel, and the seat. It's $40, and I was like, if I just turn around. But I was like, let me not be the one to leave. So I hand her all my monies, basically. They have to help me clip in. I couldn't figure it out. Then right before I could ask the girl, how do I unclip from this thing? She was gone. So it was just like, oh my God. So now I was really stuck in the room. There was no way I could leave. So the class is about to start. The instructor comes in the room. People start cheering for the instructor. And again, Kelly Ripa had been talking about it, and I knew Beyonce would sometimes come through. So I'm looking like, oh my God, Beyonce's here. And then I realized, true story, I thought either Kelly Ripa or Beyonce was in my class. Then I realized that they're clapping for Kelly, who was the instructor. So she comes in, she starts waving a towel. The lights come down. I'm judging myself for this because I've spent all the money to be there. I judge myself. 3 minutes into the ride, I've let go of the judgment, and I'm in a state of euphoria. 45 minutes in, I walk out. The instructor complimented me, asked me where I teach. She said, where do you teach? I don't teach. And I thought to myself, she thought I looked like an instructor? That was a big... So I left, and I'm walking back to my hotel room. I noticed that my walk turns into a skip. I noticed that my skip turns into a hop. And then in a moment, I'm laughing and crying. I'm laughing and crying in the same moment. And within 5 seconds, I felt this wave of blue energy move from my toes to my fingertips. Within that 5 seconds, I was certain. It was like somebody came over and whispered and said, shh, let me show you. And I saw it so clearly. In that moment, after my very first cycling class, I knew that I'd be cycling for the rest of my life. I knew that I'd be teaching it. And I knew that I'd be touching millions of people through it. I didn't know what the hell Peloton was. I had never heard about it. I knew that I'd be cycling, I knew that I'd be teaching it, and I knew that I would touch millions of people through it. Certain. So, thank you. See, I didn't think that one was gonna get a clap. I didn't expect that. This is nice. You guys are keeping me on toes. I like it. It's just weird too to be in front of people because usually it's just touchscreen. Yeah. So that's nice. Yeah. And this doesn't happen either. This is great too. Yeah. Really great. So I feel this energy, this moment happens, I leave New York, and I go back to LA. I could have easily dismissed what I had seen and said, Tunde, you had just been on a plane, you're dehydrated, you sweat, you're more dehydrated, the room was dark, you're hallucinating. could have said all that, but I believed the message. I believed it and I received it. I mentioned that I was in this soul-sucking place with my job because I also want to paint the picture of how uncertain I was. I had been doing this for 15 years. It was my dream job. I didn't even admit to myself yet that I hated my job because I didn't want to be ungrateful. I had fought for that job. I had worked for that job. There were so many people waiting in line for that job. And here I was with the job that everybody wanted, and I didn't want it. And I couldn't admit that to myself. And so I was in this this place of extreme uncertainty. I think that when we don't know what's next, when doubt enters, we clench up, we resist doubt because doubt feels not good. Doubt feels uncertain. I think the beauty of uncertainty is that you don't know. When you don't know what's next, you don't know what's next. And then anything can be next. When we think we know what's next, we're in tunnel vision. We open ourselves to only the opportunities that fall within what we think we're supposed to be doing. Because I didn't know what's next, I opened space for anything to be next. Who said I was supposed to be in fitness? But then this vision, this idea, this thought came in, and I trusted it. I trusted it. People always say, well, how did you know? I think that we all know. I think that we all have that gut thing. It's intuition. We all have it. We just get really, really, really good at pushing it away. We get really, really good at quieting the voice. I started working out. When I started working out, I said, oh, that's cool, these instructor things. I like that, but I'm going to do that when I retire. I'd said it a long time ago, but I'd forgot that I'd said it. And I forgot that I'd pushed it away. And I pushed it away only because I didn't think that I could. I didn't think I looked like an instructor. I didn't think I sounded like one. I didn't think that anybody would find me motivating or inspiring. So I pushed all the thoughts away. It wasn't until I hit this space of not knowing that I decided to give it a try. I think that when doubt enters, it's course correction trying to set in. When doubt enters, whether it's a relationship you're doubting, a job you're doubting, a friendship you're doubting. I think that when doubt enters, it's course correction trying to happen. It's intuition trying to take over. It's our job to listen. The title of the book, Speak, Find Your Voice, Trust Your Gut, and Get From Where You Are to Where You Want to Be. It was that moment when I trusted my gut that led me here. Yeah.
So we're going to do audience questions now. And the first question is, you are my favorite instructor. Not a question, it's certainty.
You pay somebody $20, they say real nice things about you. So thanks for that. Pay you when we get to the back.
How do you manage having a social life, happy hours, brunch, dinners, etc., and maintaining...
Wait, is this because you see me on Instagram going to lunch?
Yes.
Look, when I post something out on Instagram, that is the only time I go out. Because I'm like, oh, I have a cute outfit on today. Let me photograph it. So it's probably like 5 times. I mean, my friends keep getting married. You see all these Peloton instructors getting married.
Yeah.
So it forces me to take time off. Truth.
Yeah. So how do you balance that with health and wellness?
Okay, that's a great question. With health and wellness, meaning how do you allow yourself to go out and have a drink and then like eat and work out? Is that the question?
Yeah.
Is it your
like
question?
Balancing all of it.
Life is life.
Yeah.
Life is life. Life is life. Life isn't sitting and not living. Life isn't adjusting everything to meet a calorie count. Life is for living. I mean, I will say this. I think that in general, anybody read Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes? Yeah. Those classes were good too. Right? In the book Year of Yes, Shonda Rhimes, the showrunner from all the shows basically on ABC. Anything on ABC you like, Shonda Rhimes touched it. And now Netflix too, right? She's on Netflix.
Yeah. Bridgerton.
Bridgerton is back! I haven't started season 2 yet. I haven't started season 2. I was in the book, or was it? I think maybe this wasn't in the book. I might be lying. I interviewed Shonda Rhimes earlier this year, which was an incredible moment in my life. And I think I asked her a very similar question about how she does everything. And she said, if I was winning at one thing, like let's say her shows were winning, like literally winning awards. If her shows were winning, then she wasn't winning at home being a mom. And when she was winning at home being a mom, then the shows weren't winning, like it was flipped. When she was at home, like showing up to her daughter's things, all the things that kids do, when she was showing up, then she wasn't winning there. I mean, I guess it's the same thing. Like, I mean, know what you guys don't understand, or know rather, all of the behind the scenes that happens with Peloton. You don't just show up and teach a class. Like, there's so much that happens. And when I'm going out, living my life and having with my friends, I missed a deadline at work, and I'm up at 2 a.m. class planning, and then on that Friday boot camp, I'm telling you about the fact that I went out, but then I was up till 3 a.m. creating the torture that we're doing. So it's like, you know, there's wins and then there's wins. So I'll say that piece of it. Like when I'm going to friends' weddings or having all the fun, then usually there's an email that hasn't been responded. There's somebody that's texting that's waiting for a response on something. But I allow myself to be okay with that. Like I think it was maybe last year. It was within the pandemic, where I said everything right now feels like a priority. Every email. Urgent. Who created the red flag thing that happens now? I hate that flag. Some of y'all do the flags. You do a flag? So, you know, everything felt like a 911 priority. I like to prioritize things by red, yellow, green. The reds are the things that absolutely have to get done today. The yellow are the things that I try to get done today. And then the green, it's like, baby, if I respond to that by next week, consider that a blessing. And so sometimes I put hanging out with last night, Chelsea Jackson Roberts came over. Make some noise for Chelsea Jackson Roberts. Dr. Chelsea Jackson Roberts came to my home yesterday. That was a red for me. That was a top line for me. So sometimes, most of the time, business, outweighs that red, but I make sure to sprinkle friendship and fun and bread and people into my red list. Life is life. Life is for living. I hope that when I take my very last breath, I hope that when people say, like, what do you want to be remembered for? I hope that people say I helped. I hope that people say I connected. And I hope that what I say about myself is that I lived. I hope that I say that I did all of the things, and I did not do the things out of fear. I did not do things out of fear. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Along those same lines, our next question is, what would 16-year-old Tunde think of today's Tunde?
She would like my makeup.
Yeah, good.
It was about that age when how old was I? I remember my mother made me start wearing makeup. I was like such a, tomboy. I was always playing outside with my brothers. My mom only had one girl. She was like, look, you're gonna like this. So she sat me down, and we joked about it for many years, but I was like, you didn't realize the monster that you created. Because I'm in the 90s, like I would start with, it would be an ombre. So it'd be yellow, then orange, then red, orange. Then I'd buff it with purple. Then I'd use some shimmery thing. Yeah, she'd probably like my makeup. She wouldn't believe Peloton or Nike or Revlon. I think that what is most inspiring to myself about myself, what empowers me most about myself, does that make sense? Yeah, what I'm most in awe of about myself is that everything is happening at the exact same moment. To be able to speak to people, that's happening. I wanted to do that. I said I wanted to do that. I didn't know it was going to be by virtue of a bike. But that's happening right now. To be a Nike athlete, when typically the way that Nike shows women, or rather any sports brand shows women, you don't see a girl with brows and lipstick, contour, beat. So to be able to do that, to do it as myself and wear red lipstick in a campaign that y'all are going to see soon, which I'm really excited about, to wear red lipstick, that means something. It means something for me. But more importantly, the reason I say it empowers me is that I know that young people will see that and see that there is no set rule on how any one thing is supposed to go. I thought I was going to have to choose between Nike and Revlon, two things that I really wanted to do. And to be able to do both of them at the same time almost doesn't seem right. But then I realized it was just waiting for me to get here to have this moment. When I see people, my favorite posts are when people post their children doing the Peloton stuff with them. So cute. And then, there's so many women. My mother was very light complected. And so I grew up not liking my skin. I went to a predominantly white school. My mother's skin didn't look like me. I didn't see people that looked like me. And I definitely didn't see anyone calling people that looked like me pretty. I remember that. And so when I was coming into my own and being comfortable with my skin, that was a turning moment for me in my life. I speak to it a bit in the book. But there was a moment where I thought I would bleach my skin with literal Clorox bleach to try to lighten my skin so that I could look like everybody else. When you're young, you just want to look like everybody else. You don't want anything to stand out. Or you don't want anything to set you apart. Now I know my dark complexion does set me apart, which is why I love my dark complexion. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you. And so I know that little ones are watching. So when women that are light complected message me and their little dark brown baby girls are watching and they look on the screen, I think to myself, wow, how awesome that they see themselves. They won't be like me. They won't be able to say that they didn't see themselves. My nephew is 9. And when you see the little kids and their brains thinking, he was sitting there, his little brain was thinking, and he looked at me and said, Auntie Tunde? I said, yeah. He goes, did you know Barack Obama was the first Black president? I said, yeah. Did you know he's the only one? I said, yeah. And then I thought to myself, he doesn't realize when I was his age, I would have said, did you know that there has not been a Black president? So he can't say that. And so I rewind and I say that again, like, I don't recall Black women in the fitness space. They won't be able to say that. And that feels cool. Not that I'm the first or the only, but they won't be able to say that. Yeah.
So I'm getting the signal that we're going to have to wrap up in a few minutes.
I'm fine.
Agreed, but
the only reason my classes don't run over, because I talk all the way to that little stretch.
Right.
And the person upstairs is like, Tunde, wrap it up. Like, don't forget to stretch.
Yes, don't forget to stretch. So I have several questions here, and I'm not going to get to all of them because we're wrapping up, but a few of them have the same sort of theme, which is around what is it that inspires you, motivates you, fills you back up so that you can keep coming out here and inspiring and motivating others?
People. It's wild. I'll speak for my colleague. People usually say I will speak for them when I say we feel y'all. We feel y'all. Thank you. People come up to us every single day and say, you got us through the pandemic. You got me through the pandemic. You guys got us through the pandemic. You guys got us through. So the people. What did she say?
Oh, can you say that louder? Yes.
Thank you. The people. People always ask, or people have been asking me as of lately, why did you write this book? This book is a story about all of the moments that have led to this one. The love, the loss, the joy, the heartbreak, the heartache, the body image issues. All of the moments that have led me here. And I know that my life's mission is to speak. And my hope is that when people close this book, they feel inspired to move into the next season of their life. They feel inspired to stop waiting. What are we waiting for? To stop waiting. I wrote this book with my niece, Temi. She's 14. I wrote this book with her in mind. I wanted her to be able to pick it up. I wanted my elder auntie to be able to read the book as well. And so my hope is that it gets someone through whatever they're going through, and it calls them, just like I was called by that blue light. My hope is that it calls them to move into their life's purpose. Mine is to speak.
Yeah. So, and Speak is out
May 3rd.
May 3rd. Tunde Oyeneyin, this has been amazing. Speak out May 3rd. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's been an honor. Thank you to all of you for joining us. I do want to point out, Miss Ernestine Shepherd joined us again, and she is a local fitness legend. So we want to recognize her also. And I want to thank all of you for your continued support of the Enoch Pratt Free Library. You've gotten us through the pandemic as well here at the Pratt, and we're so excited to be back with our city and our community. So thank you. Have a great evening. Everyone, just a quick reminder that you could also pre-order the book right now. And of course, we will have it here at the Enoch Pratt Free Library. I don't think we're going to have time for selfies with everyone. So if you want to do a quick picture right now while we're standing here, and then
Should we take a picture?
Oh, we can do a group picture. She'll come down there.